back to the FNZ 90+3 podcast, where free football supporters take a look into the dressing room, chatting to former professional footballers about their experiences on and off the pitch. I'm your host, Ashley Symonds. I'm sure a number of our listeners are on Facebook, so why don't you give us a page like? Search FNZ Football, and don't forget to share the page with your mates. Tonight I'm joined by Tux and Becks once again. Boys, we're missing Andy at the moment. You know, can't comment on his whereabouts, but in typical armchair fashion, he's not showing up at the moment. You got any thoughts towards that, Tux, firstly?
I think that arse is stuck to that armchair in it. I think that's the main problem.
Becks, I see you got your retro Barca on there, mate, tonight. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, from when the original and the better Ronaldo stepped on the scene and lit up the world, really. I know that's going to roll you up a little bit, because I know how you feel about you stole your hair off him, don't you, the other one?
I can't. Don't talk shit, mate. I can't wait for us to get around to that Messi Ronaldo debate, because that'll be interesting.
You're going to lose, mate.
No, not at all. Not at all. Tonight we're joined by a player who's played no fewer than 521 times in the Football League and is still clocking up appearances with Charlton Athletic. He boasts no fewer than 4 promotions, playing in the Premier League, Championship and League One. It's Darren Pratley. Darren, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Very good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Welcome to the show, firstly. As you're new to the show, you won't be familiar with the format, so let me just set the scene for you. Just imagine you're in a pub and you've had one too many beers. You're willing to share your whole career with 3 complete randomers so that one of us can buy you a pint. Is that right?
Yeah, I've done that a few times, so it won't be news to me, that.
So you're an expert in the field then. Brilliant. Right, so Tux normally kicks us off with a question, so go ahead, mate.
Thanks, Ash. Darren, thanks again for coming on tonight's episode of the 90+3 series. During your career, so far you've been fondly remembered for playing at clubs such as Fulham, Brentford, Swansea City, Bolton Wanderers, and currently Charlton Athletic. But before we come on to your career in more detail, just sort of take us back to your childhood and where the love of football came from growing up.
Yeah, as a youngster, I got an older brother who used to play, so I used to have a kick about with him on the local courts where we used to live on the estate. And there was like a local church team, so we ended up playing for them. So they had like a kids club, so you could play table tennis and all that. So all the kids used to go around there just to play table tennis, really, not for the church sort of stuff. And then the manager set up a team for the local lads and ended up playing football for them for a couple of years. And then obviously school football, district. And as a youngster, I was at Arsenal. So from 13 years of age, they took me out of my school, my local school, and I went to the Arsenal school, which they had in Hymes Park at the time. And stayed there till 16 YTS, and ended up leaving there to go to Fulham when you turn YTS.
Yeah, so just with before you come onto your career, I mean, was there a team that you supported maybe? Was there, sort of family allegiance to like one specific team, or, a game that you remember going to, watching it fondly?
Yeah, my uncle he's a massive West Ham fan, so he used to go to West Ham every week, go and watch them play. Tony Cotty, Dix and all them sort of players. And Millwall as well, because they had a little centre of excellence that I used to train. So I remember going to one of their games, getting chased down the street, not us personally, but fans. I think they had a game against Birmingham or something like that, and then we're running away, horses are coming down the road. So that was a bit of an experience for a young 9-10-year-old going to watch football. Crazy over there, but no, really enjoyed it. But West Ham was my team as a youngster, and when I signed for Arsenal, I used to go and watch them every week at Highbury. They used to give us about 4 tickets for every game, so I used to, after my Saturday game, I used to go over there and watch a game.
Yeah. So in terms of your youth career then, and ultimately making it as a professional, I personally remember you coming through at Fulham and making your senior debut in the early 2000s. But before that, you obviously had your stint, as you just touched upon there, at Arsenal as a kid. Just talk us through, firstly, your time at the Gunners and subsequently moving on to then Fulham.
Yeah, well, I was training with Millwall, and then one of the scouts ended up going to Arsenal. So we had a trial on the pitch at Highbury, and I went along. He said, "Come along," and then ended up getting scouted. I think at the time, Kieran Richardson was on the pitch as well. He was training with him, and obviously they wanted to sign him, but I think he ended up going to Man United at the time. He was with West Ham as well. So I ended up signing for them And like I said, got taken out of my school at 13. Loved every minute of being there. It was a proper club. We used to get boots all the time, kit, travel expenses. When you used to go, it used to be like your pocket money. And then got to YTS. So it was at the time, if you played for England youth team, that you'd get a pro contract at Arsenal. And the boys above me used to get that. And then when it come to my age, they offered me just a YTS form. And I thought that was a bit harsh. I was in the England squad at the time, under 15s. And then Fulham were there at the same time as well. And they offered me a 1-year YTS and a 3-year pro. Fulham had just been promoted to the Premier League at that time. So looking at it from that angle, it would have been hard to make it into Arsenal's first team at the time. They had ridiculous players. And there was players a lot better than me, probably in my age and above. We had David Bentley, who was just a year above me at school. Then they had Stephen Sidwell, Rowan Ricketts, and then above them, David Noble. And none of these players were anywhere near the first team, to be honest, at that time. So I took the decision to go to Fulham. And and straight away I was playing youth team under 17s, I think it was, under 17s, under 18s, playing above my age, and then playing reserve team football. So a lot of the boys from my youth team at Arsenal, maybe apart from Justin Hoyt, who was in my class, apart from him, who I can think of at the moment, actually went on and had a career. So it was probably the right decision to make. Obviously, you want to play for Arsenal as a kid. When you say you play for Arsenal, it's great, but you're nowhere near the first team. So I made that decision, and I'm happy I did.
Yeah, I suppose some clubs you have to make a sacrifice for if you don't see a future there, and you see a potential future elsewhere, even if it's dipping down the leagues, it's sometimes a better option. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, you made your professional debut for Fulham and were highly thought of at Craven Cottage. Just tell us about your time there and any frustration you experienced not getting regular football as the years went on. I mean, as it appears to me that throughout your career and the 500 plus appearances you've made for teams you've represented, you simply just enjoy playing football. That's what I can see. Is that one of the main reasons why you ultimately had to leave Fulham at that time?
Yeah, Fulham was great, to be honest. Love living around here. I live in the area now in Surrey, so I lived up here since I left school, 16 years old, and still live in the area now. At the time, I was playing up. I was playing reserve team football. So I was happy with that. When you're young and you're playing reserve team football, that's a bonus. And reserve team football back then is a lot different to it is now. Like we used to play against Arsenal with players coming back from the first team, rather than now it's 23s and hardly any of the first team are playing. Then I got a sniff playing in the cup. We played Wigan in the cup, and I come on for about 20 minutes. And then I got a game in the Premier League against Charlton at the Valley. Barry Howes went down, and I ended up coming on for half an hour. But then I was in the canteen one time, never even thought about going on loan. My manager at the time, Paul Nevin, Martin Allen's on the phone to you at Brentford. I never knew Martin Allen, to be honest, but spoke to him for about half hour, telling me that he's been watching my reserve team games, wants me to come down. The manager did warn me that he's a bit crazy. You have a lot of fun playing under him, which I did, to be fair. So I ended up going out on loan. And I think any young lad that goes out on loan, and when you go and play in front of a crowd, there's nothing better. Went there, really enjoyed it. Played in the playoff semi-final against Sheffield Wednesday. We got beat by them. And then the following season, I spoke to Chris Coleman. Swansea put in a bid for me at the time. And then I ended up going back out on loan to Brentford. So I think going out on loan, getting that experience playing in front of a crowd, that's all you want to do. So I went out again the second season, and then I ended up leaving the season after that. I could have stayed. They offered me another contract, but I was nowhere near the first team. You couldn't guarantee me that I was going to be in and around the squad. And once I've played 50 games or something for Brentford, I didn't want to go back and play reserve team football, take a step back.
Yeah, so obviously coming on to Brentford then, how did that move come about for you? And obviously, what did you learn about yourself as a player? Obviously being quite a young man at the time, but making those steps into first team football, obviously at Brentford and then subsequently Swansea, we'll come on to later. But what did you learn from your time at Griffin Park?
Yeah, I went up on like I said, he spoke to me in the canteen, and I had to fly up to Hartlepool that night. Met the boy. My first roommate was John Solarco, so I was a little boy going into share a room with him, coming up there at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Didn't know, like, holding in my toilet, didn't want to go away or nothing, didn't want to, like, nervous. And then, we went and played the game. I remember walking out, and then Sam Sodgy turned to me and said, "Oh, we don't play football here. We just kick it." And I thought, what? Like, I just come from reserve team football, trying to play out and do all patterns, to him telling me, we don't play football here. So that was a bit of a shock. And we played against Hartlepool. To be fair, the game I really enjoyed, but I don't think I really played that well. I don't think I really touched it that much, to be honest. And then I was in and around the squad, not playing at first. And then I got my break and played. And I didn't look back from then. It was a big shock playing reserve team football. When you play reserve team football, whether you win or lose, your manager sometimes will come and say, "Oh, well played, you did this, you did that." Whereas when you go and play first team football, people need to win to get their win bonuses, to pay their mortgages. There's more on the line. There's relegation. People's wages get halved. So it's more serious. I remember Martin Allen at half time, he's kicking things, throwing the tactics board. And I never had that before. Reserve team football is like, "Oh, cool yourself down, boys, have a drink," to like, "What the F are you doing? What you doing? Like, that's your man. He let you go." And you're thinking, wow, like, this is serious now. I really enjoyed it. There was a great set of lads. And that's a club that really gave me my chance, I believe.
So Darren, I want to talk to you a bit more about your time at Swansea. Swansea, of course, at the time you joined them, a League One club, teetering around the playoffs, looking to strengthen. Obviously not the side that many people know them as, playing in the Premier League in the last decade or so. Can you tell us how that move came about and why did that move suit you?
Well, I really wanted to sign for Brentford, to be honest, because it was local. I was living with my missus at the time in New Malden, which is only about 20 minutes away. Swansea put in a bid the year before, but I turned it down and said, no, I want to stay at Brentford. And then I went and spoke to Chris Coleman. And Chris Coleman's career started at Swansea, so he knew the area. He said that you'd like it. I'd never even been to Swansea. I couldn't even tell you the way how to get there. Then my agent said, let's take a drive up there. And I was like, all right. And he said, "Oh, we'll be coming back." And I thought, "Oh, like, you can even get there and back in a day." Like, I didn't know how far it was. I didn't have a clue. So we'd done that. Loved it. Went and met Kenny Jackett at the time. Obviously, they had the new stadium. So I played against them in the playoff semi-final that year. And the team they had at the time, they had Trundle, Bayo, Rory Fallon, all these strikers. And I thought, oh, that'd probably be my best chance of getting out of the league. So I ended up going up there and signing, and it was brilliant for me.
Yeah, so like you said there, some great players there at the time. The likes of Leon Britton, Lee Trundle, great goal scorer. Joe Allen was come through the youth system at the time, didn't get much playing time at the start, but obviously came through whilst you were there. Give us your honest opinion, though. Did you know that this club was destined for the Premier League when you joined them?
They had the stadium, not the training ground. The training ground we used to share with the gym. I think the David Lloyd. So you'd be in the shower with like the public, and they'd be saying, "Oh, what happened on the weekend?" That was a bit strange. Like when you're naked in the shower and people are asking you like, "What's going on?" and you're thinking, "Hold on a minute, like, I'm not training." But I think that when Roberto came in, to be honest, the way he started making us play. We had good players. Obviously, you said like Leon Britton. I knew from West Ham at the time. I knew what a good player he was, and they had good young players coming through, as in, like you said, Joe Allen, Sean McDonald, and a few others. We didn't think Premier League at the time. We just thought Championship. If we can get into the Championship, that'd be a bonus. And in the first season, obviously, we struggled under Kenny a little bit. And then when Roberto came in that following season, I think we took the league by storm. We played some great football along with Doncaster. Ended up getting promoted, but I think we was building, and once Roberto came in after that first year, we had sights of getting to the Premier League.
Yeah. So obviously, during your time in the Championship, lads, if you didn't know, Darren here made a habit of scoring against Swansea's arch rivals, Cardiff City. He scored one in one season and then waited some 26 games to score against them, twice more. I mean, Darren, would you say that you were a fan favourite after that, that second time?
Yeah, probably the first time, probably for the celebration, where Cardiff don't really like me. That was a great derby to play in. When you're in the town, you're going shopping, that's all they talk about is, Cardiff, Cardiff, Cardiff. And if you score against Cardiff, do this celebration. Didn't really know too much about it. Scored a goal and done it up to the halfway line. And Cardiff fans still hate me for it now. So, no, that was great derbies to play in. I loved playing in them games. Like you said, I had a good knack of scoring in them. And it was always a good night out after. Once you scored, Wine Street would be a good night out after that.
Would you say it's up there with some of the best derbies in the country? Obviously, take it that is the only derby we'd see in Wales in the English Football League. But in terms of some of the other derbies you could see being played around the country, would you say it's up there?
Yeah, for me, it was the best derby I've ever played in. It's fierce. They hate each other. There's no hiding place. But probably both sets of fans, when they're walking around in the local high street or whatever, that they will let them know how much that game means. So I think everyone wanted that to be the game tomorrow, Swansea Cardiff, to get into the final. That would have been a great game. But obviously, we were missing the fans. But for me, it's probably the best derby. Yeah, like you said, I do miss them. And I like when they are on, to be fair, because it brings up some of the highlights of the goals from before.
Yeah. So, Darren, you were there. You were at the Liberty Stadium simultaneously at the time that Swansea were on the up. You played under 4 different managers, like you said there: Kenny Jackett, Roberto Martinez, Paulo Sousa, who was obviously an outlier in there, and then, of course, Brendan Rodgers. Who would you say had the biggest impact on you as a player?
You'd be surprised, but probably Paulo Sousa. To be honest, you'd be surprised. I'll tell you why. Because that start of that season, the season before that, I'd done my shoulder, and in pre-season I needed to get it done. I was playing on, and my shoulder was not right. So I went and see the manager and said, I need to have an operation. Never played for him before, and he was fine with it. And then I went into theatre, had an operation, and when I come around on my bed, Paulo Sousa was there in the room. Never played for him, and I thought that was great on the human side. For someone of the career he's had, to come and see me, he didn't have to. The operation was down in Cardiff, and it's not a million miles away, but still, he didn't have to do that when you had training the next day. So that, to me personally, meant a lot. And I've mentioned that a few times when I've done these sort of interviews, that Paulo Sousa, on a human side, that was great. And to be fair, playing wise as well, he used to let me go out and express myself and play. I was top goal scorer when he was there, only with 7 goals, but it's still top goal scorer. But in terms of, I'd say he's probably had the biggest influence out of them 4. But if you're talking about managers, Brendan and obviously Roberto, 2 great managers. Kenny as well, for different reasons. But yeah, them 2 managers. Brendan, he's training every day, something different, get you thinking. I think everyone that trains under him will say it's the best training ever. And Roberto is the one who set off what Swansea are today. The way they play is down to him.
Yeah, it's brilliant, really. And obviously the diversity in the managers that you got there. Like you say there, you were top goal scorer with 7 goals, but then you went one better the next season. In your final season with the Swans, you scored 11 times to fire them into the Championship playoffs, where you reached the final and beat Reading to gain promotion to the Premier League. On one hand, you've just reached the pinnacle of your career to date, but in the background, would you say you had your eyes on a move away from the club at the time?
That season wasn't, well, I say halfway through, it wasn't really enjoyable for me, to be honest. In the summer, before I went away, I spoke to the press. I think it might be Chris Watham, who worked at Wales Online. And I said that, I'm happy, I want to sign a new contract. I had a year left after. I said, I'm settled in the area. I want to sign a contract. And then I was on holiday, and I'm not on social media, but my brother sent me a snippet of the paper saying we're in no rush to give Darren a contract, from Hugh Jenkins, which I thought was a big surprise. I just got I've just been your top goal scorer, saying that I'm happy there, and he didn't want to give me a contract. So anyway, he come in, and then Brendan spoke to me about signing a new contract. We all agreed the contract. Went in to sign the contract. It was different to what we just agreed at the time. So we left it there. I said to Brendan what had happened. left it for a couple of weeks. I was in shopping in Cardiff. He rang me and said, make sure you get back to the stadium now. The contract's there. Went back to the stadium. Same thing happened. So from then on, I just said, you know what, we'll leave it to the end of the season. And by that time, obviously other clubs are going to be interested. You can speak to other clubs. And Bolton had come in at the time. So I ended up signing for Bolton just after the final. The final you'd say probably be the pinnacle of your career, getting promoted. But I didn't really enjoy it, to be honest. Didn't really enjoy it. I wasn't playing towards the back end of that season, getting left out.
No, even though you went for a purple patch that season, would you say in a goal scoring form, you weren't actually playing the same amount of game time as what you would normally have had in the previous 4 seasons. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I was out of the squad, I think, up to Christmas. Like you said, I still managed to score. I think it was 12 goals, not 11 goals. I'm sure it was 12.
All right. Calm down.
But it was 12 goals, I think I scored that season. In and out. I think Dobie was playing more of the time, but he was a striker more than a midfielder. So I sort of understand that. And I had a great relationship with Dobie anyway. But for whatever reason, I wasn't playing as much as I liked. Got left out of the playoffs, semi-finals. Which I was started to play in the away games, but not the home games. So I went and saw Brendan before that and said, "Well, I'm not playing. To be honest, why am I not playing? It's an away game." And he said he had his reasons, whatever. But then, the final, like you said, would have been the pinnacle, but I didn't enjoy it at all because I wasn't obviously playing.
Is it fair to say a lot of that happens in football? Are you aware that's happened a lot? More than many fans wouldn't know. What actually goes on behind closed doors. I mean, in terms of this one, it looks like you've been, excuse my language, but fucked around twice here.
Yeah, especially when I was happy at the club. I know it sounds weird, but at the time, so I wasn't on big money there. Didn't ask for big money. Wasn't going to sign for big money. I don't think anyone at Swansea was on big money. We all lived in the area. We all enjoyed playing football. But for some reason, the chairman didn't want to give the contract. And when we agreed it wasn't the same. So I would have stayed there. I would have retired there at Swansea. I loved living in the area. I was on the marina. And my missus was settled as well. So these things happen in football. It was only at a week after the playoff final that I spoke to Brendan. And Brendan said, we want you to stay. We'll match whatever Bolton have give you. But by the time I said, I've given Bolton my word, the chairman messed me about, like he said, fucked me about. So I ended up in leaving, which in hindsight, obviously, Bolton got relegated the first season. But I suppose if the chairman would have given me the contract at the time, I would have signed. And you never know what would have happened. I probably might not have played in the Premier League. But I was happy. I didn't want to leave. I didn't force to leave Swansea. I was sort of forced at the end, if you like.
When I think of that Swansea team that got promoted, obviously you were one of the players I thought, one of the standout players. We had Scott Sinclair took all the headlines. So talk us how that Bolton move came about. Was there other offers from Premier League clubs around at the time? Because like you said, you've scored 12 goals in a promotion season. That puts you on the market, I would have thought.
Yeah, there was a few. I think Blackburn were interested at the time, Wigan. I think there was West Ham was speaking as well. But at the time, Bolton, I think they just finished 6th or 7th in the Premier League that year. And they was in the FA Cup semi-final. And from the outside looking in, I'd never actually seen them play, to be honest. From the outside looking in, when you're hearing that they're 6th in the league and they're in the semi-final of the FA Cup, you're thinking it's probably a better chance than Swansea staying in the league. So ended up going up there and signing for them.
Just so talk us how that came about. Was Owen Coyle was the manager at the time, I believe. So just talk us about how that came. What was the difference? Obviously, you said finishing high in the league and that FA Cup finish, was getting to the semi-finals was, attractive for you. Talk us how, chats went with Owen and, why that swayed your decision to go there.
Yeah, obviously Owen had been in the league before. We played against Burnley a few times and I've done well. Spoke to Owen a few times in the summer. He wanted me to come in. Obviously, the contract plays a big part as well. I was getting a lot more money than what I was on at the time. Premier League, Owen had actually seen me play, so I'd know I playing against Owen. So it wasn't like I was going to a manager who'd never seen me play and just thought I'd sign him because he scored 12 goals or whatever. And I was at a decent age. He actually seen me play, and I'd done well against these teams. He said that he obviously wanted me to come in and obviously fight for a place like everybody else. He said that he told me about the club, big club, good players, and he was building something that he was happy with. So it come about. Your agent obviously speaks to other clubs, but I knew that Owen had seen me play, and he told me what I wanted to hear, and ended up going up there.
Yeah, and as like you said, unfortunately Bolton did get relegated, but you went through a lot during your time at Bolton. You had a good long spell there. You had 2 relegations, unfortunately, and a promotion. And obviously there's been so much going on at Bolton. I think we could be here probably till tomorrow morning talking about all that's gone on. But what I've noticed is obviously you became club captain when they dropped into League One, and you had a tough spell there because you got injured during that season.
Yeah,
you must have been highly regarded by the club, but I've noticed doing my research, as all good podcasters do, that the fans didn't quite take to you, and your legacy is not really well remembered there. Just talk about your time at Bolton, sort of why the fans may feel that way.
Yeah, as you'd say, some fans, I think on social media or whatever, probably get a lot of stick for that. I was at the club on the D, so they got relegated from the Premier League. I was captaining actually in the Championship after when Neil Lennon come in, got relegated in that season as well. So I was sort of one of the ones that was started from the Premier League, but still stayed at the club that was still around. So it could be that that had an effect on the fans thinking he's still around, he's on big money, whatever, and he's just been relegated. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was. I've been the same through my whole career, give my all, and I played I think over 200 games. So sometimes it surprises me that I get a lot of stick from the Bolton fans when you played that amount of games. You've captained the club, and you give your all. Some players up there are heroes. If you go in the local pub, I think they call it fannies up there. If you go in fannies and you're out drunk and you're doing videos, sometimes you're regarded as a hero. That wasn't me. Like you said, I'm not on social media, so I don't really interact with fans. So I kept myself to myself and went about my business. I never had no trouble up there, to be honest, with fans, like leaving the stadium, going to the stadium. Obviously, when you're playing, maybe you can hear the odd jeer and that, but it never really affected me. I go out there and try my best every week. But when you had 2 relegations, that does sort of stick with you and it hangs around. So I'm a big enough boy, you know what I mean? It doesn't really affect me. If I go up there now, I'd still clap the fans and appreciate, because I played for the club. If I was to score against them, I wouldn't celebrate. I've got nothing but love for the people up there. There's some good people in the club, in and around the club. And I think they've probably made a great appointment at the moment with Everett to go in there, a young, hungry manager. Hopefully they can bounce back and get back to where they belong.
Yeah, I think sometimes, I sit with our club now. We've got the team that me and the boys support, which is Ipswich. We've got a couple of players who have been here through thick and thin, when we were in the playoffs, and now they've dropped down, and they do get a fair bit of criticism. I think maybe it's just been tied to what has happened to the club. But I think if you said to a Bolton fan that they were going to go probably a few hours with nearly not having a club down the line, I think they'd never believe you, and that's never the players' fault. That's all that's gone on behind the scenes. But I think you left Bolton, when you did leave Bolton, you got them back into the Championship, but unfortunately they find themselves in League Two now. But I think you did all you can. So we'll move on to your time at Charlton, where again you've had another successful spell, getting them out of League One. You've got Lee Bowyer there as your manager. How does he differ as a manager to how he was as a player? Because we all know what he was like as a player. I think he'd leave his mark on you if he could. So just talk us through how that move came to Charlton and what Lee's like as a manager.
Yeah, well, obviously out of contract in the summer. I think Bolton didn't tell me till late, to be honest, what was happening. So we stayed up on the last day of the season against Forest, and there was a few of us out of contract, and I think 4 or 5 of them got told before. and we didn't get told, so we assumed he was going to get a contract. But then we got told late doors by the manager, Phil Parker, saying we weren't going to get a contract. So we was looking for, obviously, pastures new. Spoke to Charlton, went and met Lee Bowyer and Lee Gallen, and obviously like what I heard, and ended up signing for him. But and you'd think he's crazy, shouting and getting in people's faces, but he's not like that, to be honest. He's honest. He'll tell you when you're not doing well, and he'll praise you when you are. I noticed straight away when I first went in, he let the young lads go out and express themselves. We had Carl and Grant at the time, Joe Aribo, these sort of young players that have gone on and gone to other clubs and done very well, got big moves. So he let them go out and express themselves. He had good loan signings in Christian and Josh Cullen, who was with me at Bolton. And if you would have said Josh Cullen's coming into Charlton from Bolton, you would have thinking, why are we signing him? Because he never got a chance at Bolton. And for me, he's probably one of the better players in the Championship. So it goes to show sometimes different styles and different clubs, whatever. But he lets the young lads go out and play, and he's honest. And it's just the best thing that's happened since these the new people have come in and taken over is probably signing Bowyer up for a longer contract, because it'd be hard to keep hold of. I see him going in the same route as Roberto and Brendan, young, hungry manager going on to bigger clubs, if you like, so to speak.
Yeah, there's one moment I want to sort of pick up. So obviously the season before last, now you got promoted from League One with Charlton. You scored in the semi-final against Doncaster. That game in the final against Sunderland obviously is well featured on Sunderland Till I Die. Did you guys know that was being filmed that day? Did Lee mention anything about it? Was it a different atmosphere?
Yeah, not really, no. We knew, I think they'd done it the season before, didn't they? To be fair, we didn't see none of the cameras or nothing around anyway. So we didn't know too much, to be honest. But obviously after, you realise that it's going to be on Netflix. And you didn't know whether it was going to bring it out at all in the end. But that was a great day, winning at Wembley. As I said before about Swansea, even though that was a League One playoff final, I enjoyed that a lot more from obviously being involved in the game from the start than I did actually get into the Premier League. So, that was a good day out, and good day out.
Yeah, a tough season just gone. Obviously, again, sad to say, the fate of other clubs has kind of really decided what's been going on. Obviously, all the things that were going on with Wigan and Sheffield Wednesday recently. Charlton again, there's still question marks going on about there, and I don't want to dwell too much into that because it's not fair on you as you're a player, because it's changing day to day. But just talk us about that last season in the Championship. What was your aims there? Was that purely just getting Charlton back into the Championship and being stable, or did Lee sort of have ambitions like you had with Swansea to sort of really build a foundation to maybe push on?
Yeah, I think the same every season. You have your aims to go out. When in my first season, the manager came out and said he wanted to get promoted to League One. I think we had 15 players in the meeting when he said it. And if you ask all 15 players, we'd say it wasn't realistic because of the squad we had. But he believed that he'd bring in more players, which we did in the end, and we managed to get out. Last season, started off brilliant, to be honest. I think we was up and around there in the national breaks. And then we had, I don't know, at the time, 10, 15 injuries. We had to bring in a lot of kids in to play, and it was tough. But in every season, after 46 games or wherever it is in your Premier League 38, you finish where you deserve to finish. So I've always said that. In the end, we wasn't quite good enough to stay in the league after 46 games, which was a shame. Obviously, there's a lot going on outside, but us as players, first and foremost, we'll take that on the chin. That was our own. We look at ourselves first rather than what's going on upstairs in the boardroom. I think it's all well documented what's going on. I can't even tell you who the owner is, to be honest. I don't even know myself. I don't think the club know. So that was a bit of a shambles, what's going on at the moment. But yeah, we got relegated. I think it would have been gutting if we got to the points per game. They was going to relegate us on that. I thought that would have been a shame. But as long as we got to play out the season, whether we stayed up or got relegated, we could say that we got a full season to try and do that. So in the end, it didn't work out. But we have to see, dust ourselves down and go again next year.
Yeah, and you've got a good squad, going forward. I know a local lad to us, Macaulay Bonner's lit up the league and kind of carried on where, you had Lyle Taylor there before who was doing exceedingly well, and he's come in. So what are your expectations for the new season sort of coming up? What is the sort of, is it to get straight back up? I'm sure it is. And I guess, is that what the message is from the gaffer at the minute?
Well, we haven't been in at the moment, so we haven't had that sit-down meeting. But I know from personal experience, coming out of League One is very tough. As you'd say, you are Ipswich fans, and I think, did you get relegated the season before?
Yeah.
So
we don't want to talk about last season.
You'd know it's tough to get out of League One. You're going to be everyone's cup final when you've just been relegated. They're seen as a big club, and it's a good day out, especially when Ipswich have a good following as well, like Charlton. So it's going to be tough. The squad we got promoted with 2 years ago in League One, if I'm honest, is a lot better than the squad we had probably in the Championship. And the squad we've got now, I think we've only got 10 or 12 contracted players. So to say we're going to get promoted next year straight away would be a bit silly without seeing what we can do. At the moment, I believe we may be in an embargo, so we can't even actually sign players. So it could be a massive year for a lot of the young lads getting their first taste of playing first team football. So it'd be silly of me to say, obviously we want to get promoted, but it'd be silly of me to say, we're going to go and get promoted when we don't even know what the squad's going to be like. We don't know what's going on there. So I think there's a lot to be sorted out upstairs in the board to see whether we can get this embargo lifted. We can bring in players, back the manager, and see what sort of squad we've got, because it's going to be a tough league. The teams that come down, Wigan and Hull, are good teams as well. Like yourself, Wigan, Ipswich, Sunderland. There's some big teams. Portsmouth, a lot of big teams. And the teams that have just come up from League Two, they'll be coming up after winning a lot of games, so they're going to have that momentum. So it's going to be very tough.
Yeah. So you've got 1 year left at Charlton, and just wanted to know, I don't want to make any insinuations about your age or how good your fitness is, but have you started making plans for after football? And would you like, if you were to get promoted again with Charlton, would that be sort of the fairy tale ending for you, or would you like to keep going?
You want to keep going. I think every player will tell you a long time retired. I'm 35 at the moment. Like I said, I've got another year. I'm still one of the fittest at the club. I'm still in the top group for running. So I don't see why I should retire because I've got an age of 35 behind me. I think once I get out of the top group and I'm chasing my tail a little bit, then maybe I look at it, call it a day. But if you're beating 17, 18-year-olds in the running, I don't see why I should retire. It would be a fairy tale moment, obviously, starting my career playing against Charlton in the Premier League, and then obviously to get them promoted again would be fairy tale. But you're a long time retired, and I want to play as long as I can. I just started doing my coaching badges. I'm on my B at the moment. I'll complete that soon. That could be something that interests me, or something completely different from the game. Something else. I don't know what at the moment, but I'm open to any opportunities or whatever arises.
It's good to keep your options open, and whether we're in the stadium or not, we look forward to welcoming you down to Portman Road next year.
Hopefully the booze.
Hopefully you won't be too lucky. But I've got one final question before I pass it on to Ash. And it's a clip that I looked when I was doing my research. I don't know if it's the one you'll know or remember, but it's got quite a few views on YouTube. You were playing for Bolton against Millwall.
Shitu.
Yeah. Describe what it's like trying to run through Danny Shitu.
Yeah, very tough. To be fair, everyone says about that video. To be fair, I thought I could nick the ball just in front of him, and then as I've jumped to win it, I've obviously run into a brick wall and gone flying. But Shitu, he tries to intimidate people in the tunnel before he goes out. I think I've heard that he calls people and tells them that he's going to do this and do that to them. So, he's a big lad. But I got my revenge a year later when I put him on his backside and put one in the top corner. That's on YouTube as well.
Look, Becks, you may have been away for a couple of weeks, mate, but Tux will let you know now that we've finally sourced this man. We've got one more interview until we've got him on the channel. Darren, we've been after Dele Adebola for I don't know how many weeks now, but we finally got him. We've asked every single person on the channel who's come on if they know Dele Adebola, and I think we spoke to 20 or 30 odd players, and there was only one person who's ever played with him, and it was Dimi Konstantopoulos. You know, when he was at Middlesbrough goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He played with him at Coventry quite early on in his career.
Oh, was it?
So we got a hold of him, didn't we, Tux?
We did, yeah. He managed to pull through and get us the scoop that we was after. So
awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome news.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one. Darren, it's been brilliant having you on tonight, mate.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly, probably one of the most important so far, because you can see the honesty, you know, coming from you as well. You're not hiding any stories. You're giving us everything, at plain sight, and it's been brilliant to listen to.
No, I appreciate it, boys. Thank you for having me.
Well, good luck next season, mate, and hopefully it's a good one for Charlton. All right.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you, boys.
Cheers, mate.
Darren. Thanks, mate.
Care.